Today on the Blockchain Report, Bitcoin's holding steady around 113K, and it might be because Hurricane Melissa just turned Jamaica into an accidental water park, complete with crocodiles in the deep end. The Fed is expected to cut rates again because when in doubt, just keep hitting undo until morale improves. And Elizabeth Warren is picking a fight with crypto's favorite billionaire Changpeng Zhao over his Trump pardon, because why hold a Senate hearing when you can farm engagement instead? All that and more coming up right now on today's show. Let's go. Good morning, my Satoshi soldiers, and welcome back to another episode of the Blockchain Report. I'm Hank Hudson, coming to you live from the haunting tech metropolis that is San Francisco, California. It is Wednesday, the day halfway between I still believe in my dreams and maybe I'll just sell everything and buy a food truck. Now, before we dive into today's buffet of interest rate roulette, AI hype, and billionaires pretending to understand monetary policy, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to follow RoxomTV, the Blockchain Report, and Hank at RoxomTV, because if your financial strategy still involves checking Dogecoin memes for market signals, well, you probably need this show more than you think. All right, the charts are twitching, the traders are coping, and somewhere out there, Jerome Powell's deciding how much caffeine to add to the global economy. So let's see who's pumping, who's dumping, and who's blaming the Fed for their bad trades in this morning's market rundown. Let's go. All right, it's Wednesday. We got a lot of big news coming out this week. We hopefully have some more Fed rate cut action going on this morning, but the market doesn't seem to be reacting too favorably, at least in Bitcoin terms. We're at 115-ish yesterday, but we're down almost 2.5–3% down to the 113, now 112 arena. So we'll see if the news this afternoon perks things up a little bit for us. But we've got a lot to talk about today in our bull run, including our first guest who's joining us right now. So let's get into it. All right, welcome back. It's time for this morning's bull run. This is the part of the show where we go over the top stories of the day so you can do whatever the hell else you do in your free time. And joining us this morning for our bull run, we have one of our favorite returning guests, Piotr Benkowski from Zappo Bank. Piotr, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Hank.
Always a pleasure. So pumped to have you here this morning with us, and we've got a lot to talk about. Before we get into it, though, how's everything in your world, Piotr? Things are going well over at Zappo? Any news to report?
Well, it's very busy times right now, but super exciting developments, exciting products that we are rolling out. So yeah, it's a crazy times, but it's good.
Awesome. Well, we got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about today as well. So we're going to get into it. Hang 10. We'll be right back with you after we read this first story. Sound good?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. First up, crypto's favorite billionaire Changpeng Zhao, or CZ, is threatening to sue Senator Elizabeth Warren because apparently presidential pardons now come with sequel drama. Trump pardoned the former Binance CEO last week after he served 4 months in jail and paid a $50 million fine for violating the Bank Secrecy Act. Warren immediately jumped online, posting, "CZ pleaded guilty to a criminal money laundering charge and was sentenced to prison. But then he financed President Trump's stablecoin and lobbied for a pardon. Today he got it. If Congress does not stop this kind of corruption, it owns it." Which would be a spicy if any of it were actually true. You see, Zhao wasn't convicted of money laundering. He was charged with failing to maintain proper anti-money laundering controls while running Binance, which, sure, sounds familiar, but in legal terms, that's like confusing jaywalking with Grand Theft Auto. Now, through his lawyer, CZ's threatening to file a defamation suit if Warren doesn't retract the post. Warren is now pushing a Senate resolution condemning the pardon and calling it corruption, which, to be fair, sounds about right for a Congress that can't even pass a budget. Now, Warren doubled down, saying she was calling him out for what he's pled guilty to. Zhao's camp responded, "No money laundering charge. None of this is true. I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it. for you, which is both totally savage and somehow exactly how a crypto billionaire would argue in a tweet thread. Trump's pardon, meanwhile, was controversial because his own family business, World Liberty Financial, is expanding into crypto. Warren says that's corruption. Trump says it's innovation. We're bringing Piotr in. Piotr, Binance founder CZ just threatened to sue Senator Elizabeth Warren after she accused him of money laundering, which wasn't true. Now, for people who don't follow crypto drama every day, what is this whole fight really representing right here? What do you think?
Yeah, for me, it's almost symbolic right now because this means that, the famous war on crypto is ending in the United States. I want to remind everyone that for during the past administration, during the Biden's administration, we had such an unfriendly environment when it comes to crypto and regulation and all around that. There were many companies, founders or products that were not built in the United States because they couldn't do it. And so they decided to build it elsewhere, to move their businesses, build products, in Dubai or in Southeast Asia or in other places, but not in the United States. Now, hopefully, we see this as strategic, like a symbolic moment where, crypto, the administration that we currently have is way more crypto friendly. And that means more and more innovation will be back in the United States. And by the way, United States is this one country that everybody always looking up to, including Europeans, including Asians. Everybody's looking what the United States is doing. So I'd love to see this wind of change and this change, because this means that there'll be more interesting products, more companies, more innovation in the space coming out of United States, because finally it's becoming a friendly, innovative environment again, as it used to be before that war on crypto started in the first place. So I'm super happy to see that.
Yeah, this certainly seems to be indicative of that warming regulatory landscape we're seeing for crypto, especially here in the United States. And like you said, everybody's kind of looking to the US of A to see what to do next or not to do. So something like this certainly would seemingly push the needle forward on a global perception as well. But with that being said, Trump's pardon did raise some eyebrows because his own family's company, World Liberty Financial, is expanding into crypto. So, Piotr, in your view, is this the kind of thing that pushes the industry forward or just adds fuel to the crypto is corrupt narrative? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty delicate matter here. I think there are many positions here on this specific issue of Trump's family involvement in the crypto businesses. I mean, on the positive side, I think you could say that this broadens the awareness, because now more and more people are learning about what's happening there, and maybe they get accustomed, they learn about crypto and they learn about Bitcoin that way, and then they get involved into the environment. On the flip side, obviously the fact that they are also, the Trump's family is expanding into crypto business may raise some misgivings around or like how the structure is set up and the conflict of interest and what have you. So it's a bit of controversial topic here, but I think it's a double-edged sword. I mean, there are pros to it and cons to it. But eventually I think there will come some positive out of it, because more people will learn about crypto and more people will want to learn more, and then we will also have potentially more people learning about Bitcoin, jumping into the deep rabbit hole of Bitcoin, learning about hard money and Bitcoin promise and what Bitcoin solves. And once they are becoming orange pilled, they cannot go back. I haven't seen any Bitcoiner that was just, got reversal of their orange pilling. Once you're there, you can't escape.
Yeah.
You are just there, and you see the world differently through those lenses. So I hope in the end more good will come out of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's kind of any kind of publicity is good publicity, especially when it comes to Bitcoin, because to your point, I've never seen anyone do their due diligence on Bitcoin and then just be like, no, this isn't for me. It doesn't seem to necessarily work that way. But with Donald Trump and the Bitcoin crypto ecosystem, it always seems to be a 2 steps forward, 1 step back with him, right? Like he's pushing all the crypto and Bitcoin legislation forward, which is great. But then you see things like World Liberty Financial, which obviously raises a lot of eyebrows to people, and understandably so to a certain point. So, but that, again, it does seem like we are moving forward. So Trump is a net positive, certainly, for the crypto and Bitcoin ecosystem, as we're seeing. And from your perspective, from a banking perspective, I should say, what kind of impact do you think that these high-profile battles have on a regulator's willingness to work with the crypto industry instead of against it? Like, is this type of publicity with Warren and CZ a good thing for the industry because it's kind of setting the record straight, even though Elizabeth Warren's calling foul right now?
Yeah, I think it raises the awareness, and it's what it does is actually puts the conversation top of the mind that this is really important topic that everybody's talking about, and it should be so. I mean, the Bitcoin. When I'm thinking about crypto, I'm thinking about Bitcoin mainly and its promise and what it stands for and what it's solving for many Bitcoiners, and from that perspective, anything that helps pushing this into the mainstream and start a conversation and expand the conversation and getting more people into the like talking about this openly. I think this is what democracy is all about at the end. Like that we have a freedom of speech. We can talk about any topic. We can debate. We can have different like conflicting views, but that's okay as long as we are civil. So that basically helps to keep the conversation, keep the momentum. I mean, the strategic Bitcoin reserve was obviously the beginning of it, the start of it. But now we're past that, and we are saying what's next already, like how the regulation will need to adjust, what the regulation should look like to really promote the innovation in Bitcoin and around Bitcoin, and how to get Bitcoin, across like billions of people around the world. So I'm thinking again. I think it's net positive, and it's good we are talking about this because these are vital issues. And guess what? Like some of those problems that we have with deficits, like it's not only United States, it's other countries as well. Those problems may be fixed with Bitcoin. So having those strategic reserves and the Bitcoin appreciation rate, and in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, if Bitcoin continues the trajectory, becomes the established digital gold, overtakes gold and beyond, becomes like the capital, the way of storing value, and everybody knows that, then at this point, this can become so valuable that some countries will solve their fiscal and monetary problems with that. So I think it's absolutely not positive.
Yeah, it seems like any kind of noise right now gets people to pay attention to things that they weren't paying attention to just 5 years ago. So it really speaks to how this landscape and the narrative has totally flipped in what's seemingly kind of a short amount of time. So yeah, like you said, I think it's a net positive. Let's get people talking about it. It used to just be, crypto is corrupt, but now it's people saying, some people still say crypto is corrupt, but we have this huge contingent of people that are saying it's not, and here's why. And those conversations, as you and I both know, are so important to have for the continued development of the Bitcoin ecosystem. So I agree with you on that one. It's good news. All right, we're moving on to the next story, Piotr. So hang 10, I'll be back with you in a second, because a new study says the average American spends 48% of their paycheck within 40 hours of getting it. Get it together, guys. That means half of all your money is gone in like 2 days. That's not financial management here, fam. That's financial speed running. Now, within the first 12 hours, a third of the paycheck disappears, mostly, on necessities, groceries, rent, and bills that refuse to wait. So if you ever wondered why your checking account feels haunted right after payday, well, congratulations, you are statistically normal. Researchers found millennials spend the fastest, burning through 40% of their money in half a day. Gen Z isn't far behind, but they get hit even harder, paying an average of $275 a year in overdraft and late fees, compared to just $27 for boomers. That's a 10-to-1 gap, and it's not because Gen Z is bad with money. It's because the system they're stuck in is designed for people who still write checks. Most bills hit early in the month. Rent hits first, credit cards hit right after, and then the paycheck hits whenever your employer feels like it. The result? Everyone's broke by Thursday. All right, bringing Piotr back. Piotr, so this new study says the average American spends almost half their paycheck within 48 hours of getting it. From your perspective, What's driving that right now? Is it bad habits? Is it inflation? Or just a system that makes saving practically impossible these days? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think this is absolutely the symptom of the broken system that we are currently living in, the fiat world, where you're basically on the treadmill and you're getting your salary and then you need to spend it real quick. I mean, the costs are of everything literally are rising and have been rising because of the excessive money supply. The inflation in the system is always monetary, so basically we have more US dollars in existence, and that raises the prices across the board of everything. And guess what? The wages and salaries are not increasing automatically with the money supply. So it's not that like you go to your
Right.
boss and says, there is like 10% inflation, I need a 10% raise automatically. That's not how it works, right? So you're capped on your salary, or your income is capped, whereas your costs are increasing and you're getting squeezed. And also, like, this also shows you the high time preference thing, the environment that we are living in, where it's just like you spend your money now because it's losing the value. Whereas in Bitcoin standard, that situation will be totally reverted, where you
Right.
have, if you had a hard money like Bitcoin, it actually restoring the meaning of saving. Because guess what? If US dollars are losing value, there's no point in keeping more of them. You just want to spend them and keep your purchasing power while you still have it. Whereas in Bitcoin, for example, it makes sense to keep it and wait, just hodl and wait, because it will probably appreciate. It will keep the value and even
Mm-hmm.
more. So we always are talking about this situation where you're looking at the average house prices in US dollars, and then you're looking at the average house prices as denominated in BTC. And there is always this one picture that emerges that, in USD, everything goes up. So it squeezes everyone, whereas in Bitcoin, it only goes down. Everything goes down against Bitcoin eventually. So, that's it's a bad news that Americans are spending so fast, because that has a lot of downstream effects also. I think the problems that we have, with low birth rate and other stuff, these are downstream effects of that, because, if you're spending your money, you like right away, you don't have that money for any other purpose. You cannot plan for the future. You will struggle to start a
Mm-hmm.
family, to buy your place, all of that stuff. There is lots of, downstream effects of that. Whereas on Bitcoin standard, it's totally reversed. Once you are on the Bitcoin standard, you have access to the hard money that does not deteriorate. So you don't need to spend it right away. You can actually accumulate it, and it will keep the value and increase your purchasing power. So, which makes you
Mm-hmm.
super self-sovereign, and it's how it should be. But everyone forgot about it, because since 1970s we've been living in this fiat world where just we just increase the money supply, and there is constant treadmill and constant squeezing of the middle class. I think this is also like related to the middle class, and the fact that middle class is not really expanding. It's shrinking, right, in size. You have less and less
Mm-hmm.
people that are in the middle class, because the costs are rising and the incomes and revenues are capped. So there
Yeah.
is less money left after you've paid all the bills, mortgages, and what have you.
Yeah, no, definitely everybody, especially that middle class, is getting squeezed right now under the traditional system. And, at Zappo Bank, Piotr, you and the team are merging Bitcoin and traditional banking under one roof. So, how do you think this kind of hybrid model in the future could actually help people keep more of their paycheck instead of just losing it to fees and timing issues? Like, what would the benefit be if I was getting paid in Bitcoin and fiat, or just Bitcoin as opposed to fiat?
Yes. So at Zappo Bank, we exactly merged the old world. We bridged the old world with a new one. That's why we are offering USD services on USD and also on Bitcoin. You have access to your USD account and Bitcoin account in just one app, one banking app. But we also offer additional services on the BTC side that allow you to earn more Bitcoin, to stack more Bitcoin, to DCA into Bitcoin, also to borrow against Bitcoin, so you don't need to spend it. I think the latest addition that we've added to the app is that possibility to borrow against Bitcoin, and people love it because, why would you spend the appreciating currency and instead of hodling the appreciating currency and spending depreciating currency, which is US dollars. So people can stack with us and increase their Bitcoin reserve, their Bitcoin stack, while spending US dollars, which are losing value, being printed out of thin air. And that's a perfect killer use case for even for your spending. There are people who are using this for they are borrowing against their stack and very flexibly, and they are paying for their operational expenses. They are living on Bitcoin Standard, living off of that Bitcoin. There are people who are financing, homes, houses, purchases. There are like big hodlers who are financing yachts or some bigger purchases as well. And they don't need to spend that Bitcoin. They keep the Bitcoin. They keep the upside. And guess what? For example, we looked at there were people when we launched the lending, for example, 1 year ago, people were started borrowing against Bitcoin, and had they sold that Bitcoin instead of borrowing, they would have missed on that, 30 or 40% appreciation that happened since then on BTC. Whereas right now, people who decided not to sell but borrow against it, they kept the upside. So they literally increased their purchasing power on Bitcoin because they still own it. While the debt relatively, because
Right.
it's in US dollars, it's relatively lost its value. So and now they can repay or they can roll over. That's like up to them what they can do, what they want to do with it. But yeah, I think that at Zappo we've always believed that Bitcoin is the future of money, and if Bitcoin is future of money, then you actually want to stack more. You always want to have more, and you want to keep it. I mean, although we do have services, for example, that allow you to spend Bitcoin. We have a debit card that works all around the globe in almost every single country, and you can spend Bitcoin through that card as well. And we've seen people doing this, obviously. So it's not only hodling, but also using the Bitcoin and sending, receiving Bitcoin, and spending Bitcoin via the card. But I think many people already learned that, sometimes it's better to borrow instead of sell, instead of spend, and because they'll be better off after as time goes by, and the hardest currency wins and appreciates in value, where there's other currencies devalue. We are also, I mean, at Zappo, we always wanted to have a place that will be increasing your wealth denominated in Bitcoin. And so we also have lots of sort of ways to earn more Bitcoin on the Bitcoin that you already have. For example, BTC savings account that we are offering currently, paying 0.5% on your BTC. And it's a great way to stack more sats. You're actually getting every day the interest paid out to your back in Satoshis to your account every single day. You're stacking sats. It's pretty cool to see that. Very like customers love this feature because basically every single day they get additional Satoshis. And the crazy thing about this is those Satoshis right now may not be worth much because it's just the daily interest for most people. But I guarantee you, like 10 years from now, you'll look at those screenshots. It's like looking right now at I was buying, Bitcoin 10 years ago and looking at those, statements from the Coinbase. And it's like, wow, okay, those prices, it's crazy. So I guess
Yeah.
it's effective interest. Even if we pay a Bitcoin on Bitcoin, effective interest rate is way higher because Bitcoin appreciation will, once it continues, then basically this interest will be worth more. Those Satoshis will be worth more. So yeah, I've always been thinking about this. Like it's like really stacking sats, getting more of those, Bitcoin nuggets into your account, and this is just
Right.
effectively works for you when you sleep. So yeah, I think that's a great thing about Zappo, that we allow people to do that, and we do it really in the like thinking about protecting the capital, protecting like low risk and protecting the principal. We would never offer something that would be risky or that would be, risk taking, excessive leverage, all of that, because we want to have a simple product that I could give it to my mom and trust that she won't lose money and she won't go bust. So yeah,
Right.
that was always our principle when building Zappo app.
Yeah, no, I think, and that's sound advice. I mean, we've seen it time and again. Anybody that's gone on and sold their Bitcoin has often come to regret it later because they're losing out on that upside you spoke about. And a perfect example of that is the country we're going to be talking about next, which of course is Germany, that sold a bunch of their Bitcoin not too long ago, and they would have reaped far greater gains had they just held on to it. But it looks like they might be turning over a new leaf here. So we're going to talk about it as we go into our Blockchain Without Borders segment right now. So let's run the stinger and get to it, guys. All right, well, we mentioned how Germany had actually sold a bunch of their Bitcoin holdings not too long ago, around, I think it was around like $50,000 of Bitcoin. Obviously now they've missed out on some pretty considerable gains. However, a company in Germany called Afinio AG is flipping the corporate finance world on its head by becoming the country's first official Bitcoin treasury company. Now, this isn't some meme coin moonshot, it's a full-blown financial strategy. Now, Afinio has launched a daring plan to transform ordinary business transactions into Bitcoin-first capital structure. They're targeting over 10,000 BTC by 2027, backed by an initial £3 million investment, or euro investment, excuse me, and the company's CEO, Stefan Kemp, calls it a Bitcoin machine. The idea? Turn boring B2B invoices into digital assets that build the company's Bitcoin reserves. They're not dipping a toe into crypto here, people. They're cannonballing straight into the deep end of monetary evolution. Now, Afinio's bold strategy mirrors this larger trend we're seeing. Institutions realizing that Bitcoin isn't just a speculative play, it's an inflation shield. The company argues that Bitcoin is no longer alternative finance, it's the new foundation for corporate resilience. We're bringing Piotr back in to chat about this. Piotr, this German company called Afinio AG just became the country's first Bitcoin treasury company. Now, for those that haven't heard the term before, what does it mean for a normal business to go full on Bitcoin first?
Yeah, so the Bitcoin treasury companies are the companies that are leveraging the playbook that was pioneered by Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy in the US. I think we have plenty of companies in the US that are doing this already. Now we've seen, companies in South Korea, in Japan, in other places. So very happy to see that Germany is also stepping into the area and starting this game. Now, I think that given that German environment in general, the fact you mentioned, the fact that when the government was sold 50,000 bitcoins, not that long time ago, and we can say that it was strategic blunder. Right now, I know also that in Germany it's not a pioneer country in terms of regulation and amount of bureaucracy there is it's not super friendly environment in crypto, but I hope it will change, it will get better. So it's great to see if that in that even that environment we have companies that are pioneering that and running that playbook, because those companies basically are recognizing that Bitcoin is this next digital gold of 21st century, the sovereign asset. This is the hardest money, by far, even if you compare with gold.
Yeah.
Now, I know that in Germany there's lots of Bitcoiners in Germany. I mean, they have quite a vibrant community of Bitcoiners, people who have been orange pilled. But still, doing this on a corporate scale and on an institutional level, that takes guts. It's a bold move, and happy to see that they are pioneering, because actually, if they can do it, then it means that others can follow suit. And most likely, we'll see not only in Germany other companies doing this, in Austria and all DAC, like Switzerland area, but also all around the world. Now, people started to grasp that this playbook makes sense, because instead of buying US treasuries or instead of investing in gold, whatever have you, you're looking at this, Apex asset and looking at the past returns and looking at the performance and the projected, the trajectory of it and all the characteristics and the fact that it's permissionless and the fact that it cannot be, turned off on the whim. and that nobody is really in control of it because, T-bills, whatever you have, it's always dependent on some people making a decision, and they may decide to sanction you for whatever reason, and you may struggle to get access to that. Whereas here, we have permissionless asset. We have equivalent of holding gold in your own hands, and only you are self-sovereign and fully in control. So yeah, I think it's a great development, and yeah, happy to see that. That I hope this continues. I hope this is the early sprouts in Germany of corporate
Yeah.
and institutional adoption.
Yeah, no, we're certainly seeing it across Europe. What was it, that Spanish or Italian coffee company that became a Bitcoin treasury company? I know in the Nordic region, we have like the H100 group with Sander Anderson, and they were like the first company, I think, up that way is doing it. So we certainly are seeing that happen in Europe. And part of me has to wonder, like, is this due to the fact that Europe's MiCA laws now give companies more of a clear legal framework to hold and use crypto assets? So do you think that kind of clarity we're seeing over in Europe is kind of the key to unlocking those corporate Bitcoin adoption, on a more worldwide scale? Is that, I think helping the cause?
Yes, absolutely. This is helping because it's not only about the demand, which is there, and also the vibrant community of Orange Pill people who want to do it. It's also about, the infrastructure for custody, for, trading access. There is, and here the regulatory clarity is key, like what is allowed, what is not allowed, knowing exactly what the rules are, knowing what standards we employ with custodying Bitcoin, and what we can do, what we cannot do, what is the best practice, what is proven. All of this, the secure custody, regulated access, all of this is important. And once you have regulatory clarity, then you can actually do it. That has always been sort of like a blocker for any institutional adoption if the rules are unclear or if there is a lack of
Right.
clear regulatory framework, because people just don't want to take those kinds of risks and being rug pulled when then the regulation changes, and they are totally left. Yeah, I think that definitely helps, having clear regulatory guidelines.
Yeah, and with these new guidelines in place, we're seeing companies like Affinio have these really massive Bitcoin goals. Affinio's is 10,000 Bitcoin by 2027, which seems really large for what's kind of a mid-sized firm. So my question for you, Piotr, is do you think we'll see more companies setting Bitcoin accumulation goals like this, similar to how corporations used to manage gold reserves? Because 10,000 in like a year's time, almost a year and a half, seems pretty ambitious.
Yes, so indeed, a pretty ambitious goal. But I think companies and people are realizing that, measuring amount of Bitcoin and Bitcoin per share and yeah, amount of Bitcoin is the soundest metric that you can come up with. And the reason is because if you keep measuring value in US dollars, you're getting really distorted picture of, oh, am I really up on this investment? Am I really getting returns, or is this just monetary debasement? So there's always this staggering picture of you're looking at the S&P 500, returns, and you see what is this, like 10% a year on average, and you're actually looking at this and you're wondering, okay, is this 10% really because the economy grew 10%, or is this because, the economy grew actually 2%, and the 7 or 8% the remaining is pure monetary debasement, it's just monetary inflation, it's just amounts of US dollars in circulation, so it just looks like it's going up. And the same all
Right.
across the assets. Like you look at real estate. Oh, is this house better than the other one? Or is this house better than the 10 years ago, the same house, right? No, it's not. It's probably the same house. It's just amount of dollars increase, and now it's so prices went up, but that's about it.
Right.
So people, once you start seeing this, you know that this is not reliable measure of any value, and you start measuring in Bitcoin. And once you measure in Bitcoin, we have perfect scarcity and there is a cap on supply. Now, this is super powerful if you think about this, that one BTC is really one BTC. So if someone says 10,000 BTC, I mean, that's not going to be debased. We are not making any more of that. So it's absolute scarcity. And That's why BTC per share always also tells you more than USD per share, because there is simply you're
Right.
getting watered down in terms of USD. You may actually lose. You may gain in nominal terms, but you may actually lose your purchasing power. Whereas on Bitcoin that doesn't happen. So I think I'd love to see those companies, start thinking in those terms when they are really thinking about
Hmm.
increasing Bitcoin per share, increasing Bitcoin holdings, because that's the only thing that matters. And yeah, the more ambitious, the better, because people start thinking creative ways when there are ambitious targets to reach. And there are many ways of getting there. I mean, there are sort of they say like budget neutral ways. I mean, you can obviously you can buy more, you can borrow to buy more, you can DCA into it. You can do all different financial operations to acquire this Bitcoin, to purchase this Bitcoin. And it doesn't mean that this needs to be, in one go. It can be, spread over months, over days, over weeks, and that's fine too. But yeah, I think as long as they will be focusing on increasing Bitcoin per share and increasing Bitcoin holdings, then they'll be good. Especially if you zoom out and look where they will be in 5 or 10 years from now.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and they're certainly not alone. We're seeing it in other parts of the world too that originally kind of turned a blind eye to Bitcoin and crypto, like South Korea, for instance, which we're going to talk about right now. So hang 10 there, Piotr. We'll be back with you in a second, because South Korea has officially joined the corporate Bitcoin club, and they're doing it in the most Korean way possible, completely within regulations, neatly documented, and probably triple stamped too. So meet BitPlanet, the country's first publicly traded company to buy Bitcoin. The Kosdaq-listed tech firm just picked up 92 BTC. It's about $11 million worth through a licensed Korean exchange. Now, compared to Michael Saylor's Mount Bitcoin, that's basically pocket change, but in Asia's most tightly regulated market, it's definitely a big first step. And for once, a Bitcoin headline doesn't end with under investigation. Now, this is the first time a Korean public company has bought BTC under the full supervision of the Financial Intelligence Unit, the country's financial watchdog. So, yeah, this isn't some shady offshore deal. This is a government-approved stack. Co-CEO Paul Lee said BitPlanet isn't buying to flip, it's buying to hodl. The plan? To accumulate Bitcoin daily through regulated exchanges until they hit a 10,000 BTC treasury. And they've got backing from Simon Garovich of Metaplanet, Asia Strategy, Sora Ventures, Kingsway Capital, and Parify Capital, basically the Avengers of institutional Bitcoin adoption. Their support signals confidence that BitPlanet's compliance-first model could become the template for corporate Bitcoin adoption all across Asia. Bringing Piotr back. Piotr, now we have BitPlanet. They've become South Korea's first publicly listed company to buy Bitcoin, and they did it by the book. So my question to you is, why is this such a big deal in a country known for strict financial oversight?
Well, it is a big deal because, South Korea is one of the most innovative economies in Asia. They've been always leading in, like, we have such great companies coming out of South Korea. I mean, everybody knows them, and this is really a success story as a country and as an economy. And so what they do really matters, and they are actually following the Japanese company, right? That is also very famous, the Bitcoin Treasury company. And I
Metaplanet?
think, yeah, the Metaplanet. Yeah, exactly. And I think that this shows you that, like, it's shifting how the corporations in general perceive value, and how they want to, preserve, keep the value amid, the inflation and monetary debasement, and those balance sheets that they have, you know, historically holding a fiat, liquid assets, government securities, T-bills, now holding Bitcoin. So they want to hold on something tangible. They want to hold something digitally scarce. They want to hold something that will not erode in value. Because even if you're up on your, fiat investment, in nominal terms, still in purchasing power, you may be down. And that's a shocking actually realization. Once you realize that, once you start seeing that, you see it everywhere, and then you look forward to, You're looking for what scarce assets I should buy to keep my purchasing power, to keep my money. And companies, as well as families, as well as individuals, as well as countries. I mean, companies want to keep their money and reinvest and expand, etc. And they cannot live on the standard where their treasury holdings constantly are losing purchasing power. And that's a hard spot to be for many companies. Whereas in Bitcoin, if they only keep that Bitcoin for 5 or 10 years, I mean, you can imagine where they will be in terms of in terms of their balance sheet. So I think that's great to see that also coming from South Korea, and they following and seeing the success of Metaplanet in Japan. Yeah, I think it will open up the gates and will look like other companies in Southeast Asia and in East Asia and Asia in general. They will look up to them. They see their results and they will follow suit. So I think that's a great thing to see.
Yeah, it's just another example of we're seeing these seedlings of these Bitcoin native companies pop up all across the world. And every day you see one more or two more, and it's just becoming a little more ever present to where a couple years from now, it's just going to be the thing that exists.
Everywhere.
Not this new thing that seems so revolutionary right now. Yeah, but that's how it starts. All right, we got one more story to chat about here, so hang 10, Piotr, because France, the land of wine, baguettes, and perpetual protests, is now proposing a national Bitcoin strategic reserve of its own. You heard that right. The country that once taxed ketchup packets is now calling Bitcoin digital gold. A new bill from France's center-right UDR party aims to buy up to 420,000 Bitcoin, that's about 2% of the global supply, over the next 7 to 8 years. The proposal, led by lawmaker Eric Ciotti, would create a brand new government agency, an EPA, to manage the stash and store it securely. To fund this, France plans to redirect part of its Livret A savings scheme, that's the country's most popular savings account, toward daily Bitcoin purchases. That's roughly 55,000 Bitcoin a year being quietly DCA'd by the French government. And yes, they even floated the idea of paying taxes in Bitcoin, which sounds incredible until you remember how many people already still can't file taxes online without crying. But that's not all. The bill also proposes using excess nuclear power for public Bitcoin mining. Because apparently, if your nuclear plant's got spare juice, you might as well turn it into Satoshis. And it doesn't stop there either. The legislation would make stablecoin payments up to €200 per day tax-free, because even in France, nobody likes paying fees. Bringing Piotr back. Piotr, France, of all places, just proposed creating a national Bitcoin reserve. Were you surprised to see a country known for regulation and tradition taking such a bold step toward Bitcoin adoption?
Yes, it was a great news, and actually made a lot of comments and debates internally here at Zapp. We actually were discussing this morning, the France development. So I think, yes, they are known for the wines and what have you. It's a beautiful country, but most people probably don't know, but they are also very strong and have a significant nuclear energy infrastructure. They have lots of energy, deriving lots of their energy from nuclear. And now the idea that they could put some of that energy and use some of that energy to use to support the Bitcoin mining operations is actually a big deal, because that energy, the nuclear energy, is probably the safest and most cost-effective way and most sustainable way moving forward for humanity in 21st century. Now, if you use that energy to support the Bitcoin mining operations, you can literally transform the energy into digital capital. You can literally store that energy, and Bitcoin is a perfect mechanism here to store that energy. So once they start doing this, they may very quickly become a leader in this, because they are so well positioned with all their nuclear plants and nuclear energy infrastructure that they currently have, and they are leading on that front as well. So I think that's a good thing. There is also an aspect of, I think there was a mention of 2% of all Bitcoin in issuance there, that France wants to actually build their reserve. I mean, remember we've had the strategic Bitcoin reserve in the US, and that's exactly what happens when one big country that is leading and everybody's looking up to that country, meaning US, starts doing something. then other countries notice, and other countries start discussions around what's our answer here, what's our play, what do we do. And apparently, France is very quickly to notice. They just saw the strategic Bitcoin reserve. They said, guys, we need to have something similar. And so I'm super happy because it's just France is that country with strong, democracy, the democratic history, and they have pretty mature democracy, let's say, but they came up really quick with that bill. And now this is pretty cutting edge and could be a game changer when combining with their nuclear energy. So I think that fact that we have a domino that is starting with France, Germany, other countries in European Union, and fast forward a few years from now, everybody will be doing this. And indeed, we will have a gold rush where not only individuals, not only orange pill Bitcoiners are crying about not having enough Bitcoin, not only families, not only companies, but also countries. Everybody will be like in the gold rush to stack more because guess what? It's absolutely capped. It's only 21 million. We're not making any more. There's lots of coins that have been lost, will never be recovered. No one is printing this anymore. So you either get now or you will regret 5-10 years from now. And this dynamic, this beautiful dynamic, plays the same way to individuals as well as to countries.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It certainly seems like the writing is on the wall. And like you said, this is just another domino that we're seeing each and every day. I mean, these conversations would never even have taken place 5 years ago. But the very fact that even if this doesn't pass, it's certainly sending a message to the rest of the world about how seriously governments are starting to view Bitcoin right now. And like you said, America kind of front running things. It only seems fair that the country that has the orange president should also be the leader of the orange coin. But we'll see how that all plays out. So Piotr, it's always a blast having you on the show. So thank you so much for your time today. Before we let you go, though, you always got a lot of wise words for us and our audience here in the show. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are craving more. So what's the best place they can go to check out any hot takes that you have and or learn more about what you and the team are doing over at Xapo Bank?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter or X. You can find me on X. I'm actually from time to time posting updates on what we are doing under the hood at Xapo Bank, what new products we are shipping, what developments we're having. It's pretty exciting stuff. We have some pretty exciting, new products coming out. We are rolling out some products. We've recently launched Bitcoin-backed loans. We will be coming with new, earn on Bitcoin products as well. So check me on X, and because I'm posting interesting updates from under the hood, what's happening behind the curtains at Xapo Bank, and what new things we are shipping there. Also, if you have any feedback, by the way, if there is any feedback, by the way, just ping me directly. I mean, I'd love to hear any feedback you might have about the, Xapo Bank or in general Bitcoin, etc. So ping me anytime.
Amazing. Well, Piotr, thank you so much for your time today, and we're excited to have you back really soon. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week, my friend. Appreciate you stopping by.
You too. Thanks, Hank. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. We're taking a quick break here at the Blockchain Report. When we're back, more of today's top news, and we got another guest coming up in just a little bit that you are not going to want to miss. So stay tuned. The Blockchain Report will be back your way right after this quick message. Are you interested in effortlessly growing your Bitcoin portfolio? I sure am. And the Bitcoin credit card by Gemini earns you Bitcoin back on every purchase. You can use it like any credit card. Buy lunch, gas, or your weekly groceries, and you'll earn up to 4% back instantly in Bitcoin or one of over 50 other cryptos straight to your account. All that with no annual fee, and right now, you can grab a $200 Bitcoin welcome bonus. It is the easiest way to start building your Bitcoin stack. Just go to Gemini.com to learn more. All right, welcome back, and joining us today is one of our good friends of the program, Fernando, the Bitcoin Libertarian. Fernando, how are you? Great to have you back on the show.
I'm fine here. You can see me with a different background. It's not my usual background at home because I'm coming back from Lugano Plan B conference, and now I'm traveling to Argentina. I'm at the airport to attend to La BitConf in my hometown in Buenos Aires. So very excited to share with you my thoughts of Lugano conference and the upcoming BitConf in Buenos Aires.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you calling into us on the road. We know you've been busy. So yeah, let's get into it. You were at Lugano first. You're heading to Buenos Aires for the Bitcoin conference. What's it been like being on this global circuit right now? Does it feel like you're watching Bitcoin history happen in real time? Tell us about your experience. Let's start with Lugano.
Well, first of all, it's nice to go to conference and meet people that you usually met online. I'm in Hong Kong, and not so many people travel there for Bitcoin, and there are, despite the last conference, there is not so many things going on. And going to Lugano is good to, first of all, meet people that I have in my podcast online, and on the other side, try to learn what is going on in the main Bitcoin stage now. And for me, Lugano was an amazing conference because it was 100% Bitcoin maximalist. There were a lot of good speeches. I met a lot of people there. We discussed a lot of things about Bitcoin. And after this conference, as usual, I'm more bullish than before. So that was my first sight about Lugano Plan B conference.
Yeah, what were some of the highlights when you were at Lugano? I saw there was a new Satoshi statue that got put up. I know there were some of the biggest names in the business that were there. Were there any speakers that you felt were particularly interesting during your time in Switzerland?
Yes, the first thing, the most important, the most impressive thing was the unveiling of Satoshi statue in Lugano. If everyone remember, there was an unveil of the statue of Lugano of Satoshi was placed in Lugano, I think that a couple of months ago, but it was vandalized. They took it out and they threw to the lake, and was recovered, and it was I don't remember the name, but was restored by some artists of Lugano and was put back on the same place that it was. So on the first day of the conference, at lunch break, they unveiled the statue, and it was an amazing moment because the mayor of Lugano spoke about that. Some people of the conference, Paolo Arduino, spoke also. He gave a speech, and this is the good thing, that the message that this moment tried to send to the world, that is the same as Bitcoin. Bitcoin, since its inception, it was attacked. It was all the governments tried to ban it. There was taken as like a drug dealer money, like a scam money, and Bitcoin became more resilient, and stronger. And I think that this unveiling of the statue of Satoshi Nakamoto shows a little bit of what Bitcoin is. They can fight us. They try to ban us, but they are not going to destroy us because we are all Satoshi. That's the main thing.
We were all Satoshi. We got to put that on a shirt. I like it. And, Fernando, you've been in the Bitcoin business for a long time now. And when you're looking back and you've seen how far things have come, you literally have entire nations now exploring ways to mine Bitcoin. Does it finally feel like your early vision of decentralized sovereign money is really starting to materialize here?
Yes, I think the most important thing is, as I said before, at the beginning, the governments tried to ban Bitcoin. I come from Hong Kong, next to China. China banned the Bitcoin mining, but the miners went out to other countries. So the thing is that Bitcoin doesn't care. So you can ban it, you can attack it, and Bitcoin doesn't need the governments, doesn't need the companies, doesn't need us. We all need Bitcoin. The governments need Bitcoin. So there were a couple of panels that were discussing about nations trying to adopt Bitcoin reserves. There was a good panel with the Prince of Serbia, Philip, and also spoke the mayor of Lugano. Lugano, by the way, is a very Bitcoin-friendly city. They are doing a lot for adoption probably you can, if you open the map, you can pay in Bitcoin in many places there in Lugano. So, and the mayor is super Bitcoiner. And there was a panel that they were discussing how can the countries try to buy Bitcoin and establish the reserves, and without using the taxpayers' money, so nobody can be against that. And one of the things that most of the people were talking is, why don't the countries mine Bitcoin? Because most of the countries has access to energy, and some energy that is lost. I remember that they were talking about the thing in Canada, that a part of the energy is not used, and they have to sell in a loss to other countries, not to throw away, and they can use this energy to mine Bitcoin and stack Bitcoin by themselves instead of selling this energy at loss. So I think that these speeches, again, they show how all the countries now are trying to look at Bitcoin as a way of storing value, and to make the countries more sovereign. And again, they are trying to think how to start stacking Bitcoin without, again, compromising the taxpayers, because most of the members of the parliament or all the governments, they are going to start attacking the politicians that say, okay, we want to buy Bitcoin, and they're going to say, oh, you're going to buy Bitcoin because with the money, the taxpayers' money. And with this, with mining, they can mine with energy that otherwise is lost, and they can start stacking Bitcoins and establishing a strategic reserve using their own resources. That's the point.
Yeah, we've come a long way. It went from banning it to now countries are considering mining it straight, themselves. And it kind of begs the question, Fernando, why do you think that the approach of earning it through production and mining it rather than purchase it could be such a game changer for national adoption?
I think that any ways that the country can use to get Bitcoin, to stack Bitcoin, is a game changer. I think that, and again, it's a term of national security or this game theory of which country moves first. And I think that using the mining and the energy that is otherwise lost to turn into Bitcoin is a good way for the politicians that are pro-Bitcoin to propose to their parliaments and to say, okay, we don't have excuse now. We don't have excuse to start doing a reserve. Now, it's similar what happens in America now. We spoke in our last meeting about the Bitcoin that they seize around 120,000 Bitcoin, and United States now doing this reserve with the asset that they are taking for illegal activities. So if I'm a politician and I want to introduce a Bitcoin law, I can say, okay, I'm not going to touch the money of the tax. I will do with mining, with energy that otherwise is lost, or we have to sell in a loss. So there is no excuse if I propose that.
Right.
So I think that this can be a game changer also for countries and in the future for companies, because they can use sources of energy that now are not being used because they are not profitable to use for the country, and they can use to store Bitcoin, to generate Bitcoin and make money in the long run.
Yeah, it certainly seems like a better strategic use of surplus power rather than selling it for a loss. So it wouldn't be surprising if we did see, smaller nations start accumulating Bitcoin through mining. And if they were to do that, do you think that that's kind of the start to the rebalance of the global power dynamic, like especially against countries that are sitting on massive US dollar reserves or IMF debt? So what do you think will happen if these smaller countries start mining their own Bitcoin? Is that going to start restoring the global balance?
Of course, now we have Butari. We have the case of Butari, that they are mining Bitcoin. They have been mining Bitcoin for a long time, and I don't know if in the position. I don't know which country is. I think that is one of the top 5 countries that have the most amount of Bitcoin by mining. And of course, if you do a Bitcoin reserve as a country, of course, not now, not in 2 years, not in 5 years, but probably in the future, you can say, okay, EMF, you cannot come to my country and tell us what to do. We have our own reserve. And again, as we saw, everything happened. At the beginning, people start stacking Bitcoin. Then the companies start stacking Bitcoin with strategy. Then the ETF, and we see a lot of people of the Wall Street money that used to be a critic of Bitcoin. They used to say, even Saylor used to say, Bitcoin is a scam, Bitcoin is gonna die, and now he's the biggest promoter of Bitcoin. So I think that, of course, we are in the game. The first country that takes the advantage is gonna be the winner. And as Saylor said,
Right.
The one who gets more Bitcoin is gonna win this monopoly game. So as fast as you can start accumulating as a country, if you can do it with taxpayers' money or with mining with energy that otherwise is lost, is a smart move. So that's my thought.
Yeah, no, the first mover advantage is very real, especially when it comes to the Bitcoin space. And you yourself have used the phrase monetary self-sovereignty before. Are we watching right now the first real-world examples of that, where nations are learning to secure their future wealth through computation instead of currency?
I don't think that we are. I think that we are in the prehistory. There are some countries that they are start understanding what is going on. Again, El Salvador did the first move, Bhutan that is mining, now United States with Donald Trump and trying to impose this strategic Bitcoin reserve. But I think that we are even earlier than early for what is happening with the countries. So that's my point. There are, of course, in the future, more countries are going to be adopting. But for me, now we are earlier than early. So there is a lot of education to be done. We need to educate politicians. We need to make them understand, because what's happening in Argentina, we have our president is libertarian. He's an Austrian economist, and he doesn't understand Bitcoin. So we need to do a lot of work. We need more of these conferences. We need more of politicians trying to, checking what is going on, asking the people who really knows. We need more sailors that can be in this position of being the CEO of a listed company, talking about Bitcoin, and with his talk, trying to convince other ones. And we need more leaders, more pro-Bitcoin leaders that I think that are coming. In this conference, I saw, and I think we are going to talk later about Paolo Arduino, the CEO of Tether. Tether that in the past was also taken as like money for almost illegal, and now he has meetings with Donald Trump, and he's being consulted by many leaders with his doing. So we need more of this. We are, for the country level, we are earlier than early, but it's inevitable. Bitcoin is inevitable. So I don't know. I don't want to say yes, it's going to happen in 1 year or 2 years, but sooner or later it's going to happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we do need more leaders. And, Fernando, you're one of those leaders, my friend. You've been in the space earlier than early. And so it begs the question, if you right now were advising a government that's ready to dip its toes into Bitcoin mining, what would you tell them to prioritize first? Would it be the infrastructure, the regulation, the education, something else?
I think that it's a little bit of each of one. I think that the infrastructure is mandatory, because you cannot mine Bitcoin without infrastructure. So you can set up infrastructure to start mining. On the other side, the regulation, I think, is good, because if you do some regulation, especially against shitcoins and focusing Bitcoin only, and focusing how companies can benefit themselves by using Bitcoin, or some of the things that Lugano is doing. I think that also is important. And education, I think that education is the mother of all battles. We must educate the people about Bitcoin, and I think that is the most important thing.
Yeah, no, I don't think you can ever have enough education when it comes to the space. And like I spoke about with our last guest over from Zappo Bank just before we had you on, I've never heard of anyone that's educated themselves in Bitcoin, learned everything there is to know about it, and then said, nah, I don't think it's going to work. We've seen it time and again. Once you put in the time to get the education on Bitcoin, you end up orange pilling yourself because it just makes so much sense. And now I want to talk a little bit more about Lugano. You mentioned him earlier, but let's go into a little bit more in depth about Paulo Ardoino. You talked about his talk, his speech. The guy's not just the CTO of Tether now, but also the CEO of Bitfinex and the face of Lugano's Plan B. So my question for you, Fernando, is what part of his speech about the future of Bitcoin kind of stood out to you the most?
No, I think that he didn't speak only about the future of Bitcoin. He spoke about the future of humanity and how everything must be decentralized. He gave a speech that was amazing because it was not the typical speech with slides or other things. Gave a speech with animations explaining decentralized AI, decentralized servers, decentralized money, and how future is gonna be, and it was amazing. This guy, his vision, I think, and I want to call it now, that he's gonna be the next Elon Musk. I'm sure he's gonna be the next Elon Musk because he understands. Elon Musk understood 20 years ago the problems that world was facing and how to solve it, and he started working towards that. And Elon Musk at that time, he was a very powerful man with the money that he had and all the things, the connections, and he could make it happen with Tesla and with SpaceX. And Arduino, he's younger than Elon Musk. I think that he's younger than me. He's 40 years old. So he's now, I think, in his speeches, he was pointing in all his speeches the problems that humanity is facing now, the problem of big tech concentrating all the power, and how we can do to fight against that. What happened 2 weeks ago when Amazon went down and all the internet of the world went down. We couldn't use our banks, we couldn't use our apps, and he's working towards that. So I like to see, again, what I saw on his speeches, he's thinking like Elon Musk 20 years ago. So that makes me super bullish, because if a guy with his power, with his wealth, with his vision, and also as a Bitcoiner, he thinks the future in that way, I think this is super bullish future. He spoke about ways to do AI decentralized, to decentralize the servers, the computing power, decentralizing, of course, the money, of course, finance. So, and he has the good thing is that he has the power and he has the money to make it happen. And he spoke in some speeches. I got a little bit lost because I'm not a tech guy, and I need to go back and study a little bit more. But again, what I think about Arduino, that he is the next Elon Musk, because he's thinking now the problems that humanity will face in the next 15, 20 years and try to solve it. And he has the power and he has the wealth to make it happen. So I'm so excited. And previous to that, I was not a big fan of Arduino because Tether, I'm a Bitcoin maxi, and Tether is not a centralized stable coin and all this stuff. But after this conference, I'm becoming a big fan of him. And besides that, on the Sunday, he posted something good about Argentina president. So it makes me really happy.
I'm glad to hear that. But I got to say, the next Elon Musk, that's quite the endorsement. But there are certain people out there that seem to have a foresight where they can kind of understand what the world's problems are going to be years and sometimes even decades from now, and then act on that currently so that they're in a good spot, 20 years from now. And we saw Elon do that with all of his many endeavors. And one thing that Arduino keeps emphasizing is real world Bitcoin infrastructure, right? And we're talking payments, mining, energy grids, even city services. So based on what you saw in Lugano, how close are we to that being a reality instead of just marketing slides?
I think that we are not close. There are many things. Again, we need to work a lot in education because as bullish as we can be, uh, only 5% of the people understand Bitcoin in the world. So we need. That's why we work every day. Every post on X, every podcast that I do is towards orange pill the 100% of the population. But I think we are far away from that. But this is inevitable, and with these conferences, with these people making this accessible, I think we are closer. But it's gonna take time.
Yeah, no, we definitely have some ways to go, but the progress is very visible and we're seeing it happen in real time. And to shift gears a little bit, we're kind of seeing that in other realms too. For instance, on Rumble, right, which made headlines recently by rolling out Bitcoin tipping for creators. As a creator yourself, how big of a deal is that in your view? And does it mark the start of the creator economy breaking free from the fiat rails?
Well, first of all, I think it's a good move. I started using Rumble a couple of months ago after Nolan came to Hong Kong and told me about Rumble. So I started using Rumble. First of all, we need, as Paolo Arduino was putting, and also the CEO of Rumble was talking about, we need alternatives from the big tech. So we need these companies because if we depend only on YouTube or even Twitter or Instagram, Meta, there is gonna be always one way, one message spread. So with Rumble, I think that what they are doing is fighting against this mono narrative that we can see in YouTube, because I suffer YouTube on myself. Like I got 3 channels taken down because probably they don't like what I'm speaking. So, and also Rumble now, if they and also in YouTube, it's very difficult to get monetized because you need a lot of followers. You need a lot of hours, and even though when you get monetized, the money is like not too much. And on the other side, we have other ways that is not done, that is totally decentralized, and we can get we can get satoshis with the content we post, but it's not so massive because it's very difficult to use. So with Rumble, we have an alternative to YouTube, and I think that they are trying to advance in a couple of things to make it popular. And I think that they are creating a wallet that you can integrate into Rumble, a Bitcoin wallet, and you can get. Let's say I have my podcast, and you watch one episode and you like it, and you can send me a tip with the wallet using Bitcoin, and I can get it immediately. So all of these things, of course, again, is super early, and I don't think that a creator can live out of the tips that the audience give in Bitcoin and Satoshis. But all of these things are putting incentives for people to, okay, let's start trying in Rumble. I'm on YouTube, so it only costs 1 minute more upload an episode in Rumble, the same episode. So this is gonna push people to go to these platforms. And I hope, because also Arduino was in the same talk, I hope that these companies can get traction The problem with Rumble is like, I think that they have only 50 million users. Uh, if you compare with YouTube that has billions, of course, it's very difficult. But again, I think that most of the people will start moving there, or not moving there, but okay, I have my YouTube channel, I will have my Rumble channel, and this can help grow. And I think that is very, very important for decentralize the information and to, again, fight against these big tech corporations that they uh, make us listen or watch what they want instead of what really matters.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have that other option of Rumble. I mean, you said you've been kicked off of YouTube a couple of times. We were kicked off earlier this year, and they don't really give you any reason. So we do need a platform that we can turn to when things like that happen. And to your point, I think offering Bitcoin for tipping and stuff is just another one of those small dominoes that's going to continue to slowly but surely integrate Bitcoin more into everyday use cases for everyone and drive that adoption further. And I think we're going to be seeing that in other social platforms as well, to the point where Elon Musk has even hinted that X will eventually integrate Bitcoin and Lightning support. So my question is, do you see a brewing race between platforms like Rumble and X to become the Bitcoin native creator hub going forward? Because it seems like there's certainly opportunity there.
Well, in X, we know that the Bitcoin community is very well represented. And most of the people, the Bitcoin X, there is a lot of content creators, a lot of big names there. So I think that X is a good platform for Bitcoin, especially after Elon Musk bought it. And Rumble, let's see how is the traction, because again, we need more people using it. Probably integrating payments with Bitcoin make more creators go there and get more traction, and we can have a different alternative to YouTube. Nolan told me that there is a huge traction in for Bitcoin in Rumble. I'm not experiencing it yet, but I'm trying to start to get some good numbers in Rumble and hope to grow it in the future. But I think that the best platform now for Bitcoins is Twitter, because again, all the big names are there, and there is a good amount of users. And since Elon took it, bought it, we are more free to solve whatever we want in the platform without being the platform. And if Elon can integrate, there are some apps that you can send tips in Bitcoin using X. But if Elon integrates Bitcoin or subs into X, it's going to be amazing, because most of the creators, it's going to be good for the Bitcoin ecosystem, but also it's going to be good for people who don't understand Bitcoin, that don't know what Bitcoin is. And if they start receiving Bitcoin through X, they will start studying. And again, it's going to boost the adoption.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised Elon hasn't come up with his own version. I would have expected Elon to come up with his own video platform first, like GrokTube or something. Like, you already have, people upload videos to X all the time. You could just take all those and aggregate them to another video website, and all of a sudden you've got your own X version of YouTube where you can say whatever you want. It seems like it would be a natural fit. But so if Elon does it, you can say that. You heard it here first. So we're getting low on time here, so I do one more. Go ahead. Yeah, right? Like, it seems like it would make a lot of sense.
Would be amazing if Elon.
Go ahead.
If Elon creates a parallel version for YouTube, it would be amazing.
Right? Yeah. I mean, he's got, everybody knows him. He could tweet about it and he'd have 1 million users in like 2 seconds. Like, makes that jump off point a lot easier. Now, shifting gears a little bit here, you're in the airport. We're running out of time here, Fernando, but you're heading to La Bit conference in Buenos Aires, one of the longest running Bitcoin conferences in Latin America. And this year it's happening right as Argentina's embracing pro-Bitcoin policies. So I want to know, what's the message that you plan to share when you're there, and what kind of energy are you expecting from the Argentine Bitcoin crowd?
Well, it's going to be very good, very interesting for me, because it's my country and it's the first time I go to this conference, and I will meet a lot of people that I've been talking a lot through internet in this time. Well, my message is going to be I will be speaking in a panel that is about the orange pill, how Bitcoin changed
Mm-hmm.
you. And this is the message that I always try to give, uh, that, again, that money is broken, especially in a country with huge inflation like Argentina. Uh, Bitcoin is the solution to all these problems, the money debasement and for the retirement. And I think that this is the message that I want to give. And also, I will be in a podcast with a huge, there is a channel called Los Herederos de Alberdi, that is a very big channel that they talk about libertarianism, and and we are gonna be there, mm, talking with them, trying to tell them how Bitcoin and libertarianism ideas are aligned. And again, I will try to orange peel as much people as possible. So, and it's gonna be good because I will speak in my own language. It's gonna be easier for me to express. And again, I'm very excited to share the message, to keep preaching the word of Satoshi, to meet people, and to keep learning, because even though I'm go there as a speaker, that for people could say, "Oh, this guy is an expert." I'm not an expert. I'm always learning and learn from a lot of people that is going there for for the conference, learning for how is the situation of the Bitcoin community in Latin America and the Spanish-speaking countries. Would be really good to be there and learn more about that.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot to look forward to, and we are certainly looking forward to catching a little bit of your talks and your podcast appearances and checking out your travels. I've been monitoring your X account. You've been doing a nice job of posting what's been going on during your travels. So before we let you go, Fernando, first, if people wanted to follow more of your travels, what's your X account handle that they can go check out? And also, do you have any information as to when you'll be speaking and when that podcast episode will be available so our audience can take a peek?
Yes, well, first of all, my X account, now we open a parallel account. My X account is the Bitcoin double underscore. This account is gonna be only in English. We open a new X account that is the Bitcoin ESP double underscore, that this is 100% in Spanish. And you can check our YouTube channel in English, that is Libertarian BTC, our YouTube channel in Spanish, that is Libertarian BTC ESP. And I will be speaking at 10:20 a.m. on the Friday 7, on the stage, on the main stage of La Bitcoin. If you want to buy tickets, if any of the audience goes there and want to buy tickets, my code Libertarian has a 30% discount. Then I will be speaking at 2 p.m. In this podcast that I was telling you, the same day, in a stage called 21 Lat. And I think that at 4 p.m., it's not confirmed yet, but at 4 p.m. of the same day, I will be being a moderator of people traveling and living on Bitcoin outside Argentina. Also, I am preparing some activities with the people from the Argentinian Bitcoin organization. I don't know if you know, but they have a band that they call La Bitcoineta. That is a band fully clothed about Bitcoin, and they travel around with this band teaching Bitcoin to the communities. And they will have the band inside the stand of the conference. And I will be doing some podcasts with the guests, with the speakers of the conference inside La Bitcoineta. So it's gonna be interesting, and it's gonna be good to catch up and to keep spreading the word. And also, next to me, I have the other libertarian. I don't know if you want to say hi to the audience. Yes. And he's gonna
There
be
he is.
moderating. He's gonna be moderating a panel with Borja from RoxomTV, that they are gonna be talking about Bitcoin Treasury companies. So again, we have a lot of things to do over there, and I'm very excited of, again, keep learning and keep meeting people.
Yeah, well, we're certainly excited to learn more about your trip, and we appreciate you taking the time with us this morning and chatting us from the airport. What a trooper. And it sounds like you've got a busy couple of days up ahead, so make sure you get some good rest on that flight, my friend, and we're looking forward to seeing everything that you're going to come away with after the conference this week. So thank you so much for your time today, Fernando, and have fun at the conference, and we're looking forward to having you back on the show real soon.
Thank you very much. And yes, I think that in the next appearance, I will be in Argentina and I will be talking about all what I did during the LaBitConf 2025.
Looking forward to hearing about it. Thanks, Fernando. We'll see you next time and enjoy your week, my friend. And we will be right back here on the Blockchain Report after this quick message. Stay tuned. All right, boys and girls, we're doing a quick market rundown here. Currently, we can see Bitcoin down a little bit further this morning. We're down to around 111,000. Remember, just 24 hours ago, we were around that 115 mark, but we've come down about 3.5% this morning. It looks like the traders know something we don't, as we're expecting some big info regarding rate cuts and whatnot this afternoon. So this is all very subject to change. In the meantime, though, I want to zoom out and look at what the charts are actually telling us this week, because between the Fed meeting, Trump and Z getting ready for their handshake off, and half of crypto Twitter calling for 200K, it's time to separate the signal from the noise. Now, Bitcoin is trading currently around that $111,000 mark, and the long-term indicators are starting to paint a very interesting picture for us. Again, this is not financial advice, just how I'm reading the charts right now. Let's jump on into them, okay? So the first chart we're bringing up here is the 100-week moving average heat map, okay? This one's basically the heartbeat of Bitcoin's long-term trend. This tracks how fast the 200-week moving average is growing and color codes it like a Bitcoin mood ring of sorts, okay? So when you see yellow, orange, or red, okay, that's when the market's getting overheated. That's usually right before a top. You can see a previous one there back in 2021. It's got the red circle around it. Now, when it's blue or purple, that's when Bitcoin's in what we're calling deep value territory, and everyone's pretending that they never liked crypto to begin with. Right now, we're still in the cooler shades, as you can see there, very much still in the dark blue. That means that the long-term average isn't accelerating like crazy yet, and the market is feeling steady, not euphoric. So there's two possibilities here. Either the big bull run has not kicked off yet, or this cycle is going to be more chill, a lot more chill than the last ones. And if history rhymes, we're still mid-cycle, not at mania levels just yet. Okay, so now we're going to move to our next chart. This one is the topping clouds model. Think of this as kind of like the weather forecast for Bitcoin's valuation. It takes a bunch of long-term models like the MV/RV ratios, vaulted price, and mean price, and combines them into one colorful cloud that shows when things are getting overheated. Now, when Bitcoin's price breaks above the top of this cloud, that's when we usually see investor euphoria and sometimes the start of a pullback. Earlier this year, we hit those upper levels twice, and each time the price got rejected right around the purple and green lines. You can see them right there, okay? That's the MV/RV +1 standard deviation and the vaulted price. Now, Bitcoin's sitting just below them yet again. If it retests that purple line, that would be around 138K. And if we break through the green vaulted price level, you're looking at closer to 151K, which would match the pattern of the last two local tops. So the cloud here is basically saying we are not overheated yet, but the ceiling is in fact starting to come into view. Now, I want to go to our last chart, and this one is one of Bitcoin's oldest and simplest crystal balls. This is the Pi cycle top indicator. It uses just two moving averages, the 111-day average and the 350-day average multiplied by 2. Now, when the shorter line crosses above the longer one, it's historically nailed the top every major Bitcoin cycle, 2013, 2017, and 2021, all within a few days of the actual peak. Right now, though, those two lines are still comfortably apart, okay? That means we're not there yet. No crossover, no top signal. So unless this time really is different, this chart says that the biggest move of the cycle still hasn't happened yet. Of course, no metrics are perfect, so keep that in mind. All indicators definitely fail. Some are just more entertaining to watch while they do. So what is the big picture here? That's what we all want to know, right? Well, all eyes are on Jerome Powell and the Fed today. The market already expects a rate cut, so the real volatility will come from whatever Powell says at the mic. Tone, not numbers. Add Trump and Xi's meeting tomorrow, and we've got a 2-day stretch of headlines that could whip prices around for fun. But historically, FOMC days are full of fake outs and liquidation cascades, not real trend changes. So when the dust settles after this, that's when we'll get the real signal of how investors are positioned. For now, though, let's zoom out, stay focused on the long-term charts because they're showing we're closer to the middle of this bull run than the end of it. All right, let's get into more of today's stories with our continued bull run. Let's go. All right, we're back for more of this morning's bull run. And of course, we got to talk about Hurricane Melissa. She has made landfall, and it didn't just hit Jamaica. It may have deleted it off of the map. We're talking winds of up to 185 miles per hour. That's stronger than Katrina and faster than your average Jamaican sprint team. Now, Jamaica's prime minister has declared the country a disaster area. Floodwaters have reached the roofs of 2-story houses. Rescue teams can't reach families trapped inside, and power lines are down across the island. That means no lights, no phones, and no way to call your insurance company to ask if Act of God covers crocodiles swimming in your living room. Because yes, officials actually issued a crocodile warning saying the floods could drive them into residential areas. Nothing like losing your roof and gaining a dinosaur, I guess. Tourists described the night like a horror film. One British traveler said that glass windows were vibrating, doors were slamming, and palm trees were flying around like confetti. Meteorologists say that Melissa intensified with almost no warning, supercharged by record warm Caribbean waters. Now, by the time it made full landfall, it was a full-blown Category 5 monster. So, yeah, Jamaica's economy, its crops, half its infrastructure are all underwater. And while the storm's headed toward Cuba now, the country is going to be cleaning this all up for months, maybe years. There's no word yet on damage totals, but the phrase catastrophe bond suddenly feels like the understatement of the century. And in other news, Israel says the ceasefire in Gaza is back on, which is interesting considering they killed more than 100 people right before saying that. Tuesday night saw one of the most intense bombardments since the start of the conflict. The strike hit homes, tents, and entire neighborhoods, killing over 40 children and 20 women, according to Gaza's health ministry. Because apparently ceasefire now comes with an asterisk. Now, Israel says it was retaliating after Hamas allegedly attacked soldiers in Rafah. Now, Hamas denies all this, so naturally, both sides accused each other of breaking the truce, and then Israel bombed everything that wasn't nailed down. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called for powerful strikes, and the Israeli military said it had targeted dozens of sites. President Trump, still on his Asia tour, told reporters aboard Air Force One that the Israelis hit back, and they should hit back when that happens. He also added that the ceasefire wasn't at risk, which is bold confidence for a man talking over the sound of explosions. Vice President J.D. Vance echoed that it was still holding, which technically counts if your definition of holding includes falling apart at the seams. Hamas, meanwhile, called the strikes a flagrant violation and begged international mediators to step in. So, to recap all of this, ceasefire violated, civilians killed, and now apparently the ceasefire is, in fact, back on. Okay. And President Trump says he's pretty much finalized a trade deal with South Korea, and that phrase alone should come with a disclaimer and a fact-check team. The deal reportedly includes a 15% tariff on auto parts and a $350 billion in South Korean investments into the United States. Because nothing says free trade quite like writing America a $350 billion check. Trump told reporters, "We reached a deal. It did a lot of different things. Great session." South Korean President Lee Jae-myung agreed, calling it a great session too, proving that sometimes even world leaders copy each other's homework. Markets, of course, lost their minds. The won rose against the dollar, Kospi futures jumped, and everyone pretended to understand what pretty much finalized means. Spoiler alert, nobody does know what it means. The deal apparently ensures that South Korea won't face higher tariffs than Taiwan on semiconductors, which means it's less about trade and more about who gets to make America's microchips. It's also timed perfectly before Trump's upcoming meeting with China's Xi Jinping, because nothing spices up a summit quite like signing side deals with your negotiating rival's next-door neighbor. Trump even invited Lee back to the White House, probably to announce the deal again once it's really finalized. Now, until then, South Korea is happy, markets are happy, and Trump gets to take a victory lap before the paperwork is even printed. And the Federal Reserve is expected to cut interest rates again because apparently Jerome Powell's entire job now is to press the undo button. This would be the second rate cut in 6 weeks as the Fed tries to stop the job market from collapsing. Now, the Fed is expected to trim another quarter point, the monetary equivalent of giving the economy a shot of espresso and pretending everything is fine. Federal Governor Chris Waller says his focus is on the labor market, which is code for inflation's bad, but unemployment polls even worse. Waller also said Trump's new tariffs are putting some upward pressure on prices, but he doesn't expect it to last, proving that even Fed officials have entered their denial era. Analysts say weaker job growth could drag down spending, which could drag down everything else. But the real mystery is whether the Fed even knows how bad things are, since the government literally isn't publishing the jobs report right now because of the government shutdown. So yeah, the central bank's flying on anecdotes. Welcome to the U.S. economy, the 2025 edition. We're taking a break, but when we're back, it's time to wrap things up with some bullish, bearish, or BS. So stay tuned. The blockchain report will be back right after this.
It runs on Bitcoin. Introducing Roxom, the first ever exchange where Bitcoiners can trade Treasury stocks entirely in BTC. Get exposure to top Bitcoin holding companies like MicroStrategy and Metaplanet, priced in Bitcoin from the start. No fiat, no middlemen. This is what financial freedom looks like. Early access now live at Roxom.com/treasuries. Built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners.
Wish you could grab cash without selling your Bitcoin? Yeah, same. But hey, that's why Ledn exists. They're the global leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Over $900 billion issued since 2018, with a perfect record protecting client assets. Now you might be asking, what makes a Ledn loan different? Well, with custody loans, your collateral stays put. They don't go degen and lend it out for yield. There are no credit checks. It funds in under 6 hours. No monthly payments. You can repay anytime with 0 penalties. And for transparency grown-ups actually want, proof of reserves reports every 6 months verified by a top accounting firm. Bottom line is Ledn lets Bitcoin holders unlock liquidity without selling. Just go check it out over at ledn.io/RoxomTV. That's ledn.io/RoxomTV. All right, boys and girls, it's been a long Wednesday, and it's time to wrap things up with a little bullish, bearish, or BS. This is the part of the show where we recap today's top stories and see what they mean for Bitcoin moving forward. Let's get into it. First up, Hurricane Melissa made landfall as a Category 5 storm, leaving Jamaica flooded, powerless, and literally issuing crocodile warnings. It's one of the strongest storms ever recorded in the Caribbean. My verdict on this is bearish. You know, when an entire country goes underwater, markets tend to follow suit. Disasters like this drain liquidity, they crush investor confidence, and redirect capital away from risk toward rebuilding and survival. Even Bitcoin's chaos hedge reputation doesn't shine when half the Caribbean is offline and no one has power to check their wallet. So crocodiles in your living room, that, my friends, is never bullish. So I'm bearish on the first one. Next up, the Federal Reserve is set to cut interest rates for the second time in 6 weeks, trying to keep the U.S. economy from face planting into a recession, all the while flying blind without jobs data due to the ongoing government shutdown. I'm calling bullish on this one, okay? Fed rate cuts mean more cheap money sloshing around in the system, and nothing inflates faster than risk appetite when Powell taps the money printer. Investors tend to rotate out of boring bonds and into assets that can actually move, which historically includes Bitcoin. So every quarter point Powell slices off is another dopamine hit for the bulls still pretending that this is price stability. So the Fed's printing money again, and I am always bullish on that. So we're bullish on that. We got one bearish, one bullish, one to go. Let's try to end this strong. Last but not least, Changpeng Zhao is threatening to sue Senator Elizabeth Warren for defamation after she falsely claimed he was convicted of money laundering following Donald Trump's pardon. Warren later doubled down. Zhao lawyered up, and crypto Twitter got its popcorn ready. Ooh, this is all fun. I like the, but I'm calling BS on this. Okay, this story is less about markets and it's more about, we'll call it main character energy, okay? It's political posturing wrapped in crypto drama, destined to move headlines, but not price charts. The only pump here is an ego and maybe CZ's follower count, right? So CZ versus Warren, I'm here for it, but it's really just BS meets DC, so it's not moving the price at all. So let's go over today's final score. We got one bullish, one bearish, and one BS, which means today's final verdict is a big load of BS, okay? I mean, between natural disasters, nervous central bankers, and crypto billionaires beefing with career politicians, today's market isn't sending a signal, it's sending a cry for help. The bulls and bears are too busy doom scrolling to pick a direction. So for now, call it what it is, a sideways day in a clown world, all right? Well, gang, that is a wrap for today's episode of the Blockchain Report. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you haven't already, let's do each other a favor here and make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to RoxomTV, the Blockchain Report, and Hank at RoxomTV, wherever you choose to do your scrolling on. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, same Bitcoin bedlam, right here on the Blockchain Report. So until then, as always, please, please, please stay safe, stay informed, and always hodl on. See you tomorrow.